Alright guys, today we are making sourdough bread. So, we got my starter here, she has risen, she's nice and alive, and we're going to need about 30 grams. So I've got my mixing bowl on my scale, I've got it zeroed, and we're going to add about 30 grams. And 10 more, just a sec. So I said 30, I meant 300. So that's what the scale is saying. So I got 285, so we're gonna kind of go based off of if I had 250, and then a lot of this is really just gonna be by eye. But next we're gonna want to add 735 grams of water. So it says to use filtered water usually. I just go with bottled water. I don't have really filtered water at my house otherwise, so 735 grams. So I have 749 in there. I put a little extra since I had some extra starter. And what I'm going to do now is mix this up, combine it until it's milky. So for reference, I just kind of break it up and like smush it into the water. See how it's getting all milky? This is kind of what you're looking for. And once you've got it all combined, like as much as you're trying to get it combined, you're going to want to add 1,000 grams of flour. I personally use King Arthur's unbleached bread flour. Really any flour would work, that's just the one that I prefer using. I think it works really, really well and the bread turns out incredible. So I've got about 1,060 grams of flour added. Now I'm going to get it off the scale and get this combined. So it's all combined now. This is what it's looking like for me, just base combined. I'm going to add more water to mine. Where I live, there's almost literally no humidity, so you usually end up having to add more water to your recipe just to get the right texture for your dough. Once I get that added in, I'm going to keep combining for another like 2 to 3 minutes. But feel free whenever you're making this, just adjust for what you need in your area to get your dough to turn out right. So I'm combining it, I'm literally just like pinching and folding, oh gosh, and working in. It's hard to show when I have to use my other hand usually to hold this bowl, but I've been doing that for about 2-3 minutes. This is what it looks like right now. I prefer a wetter dough, just talking about how there's no humidity where I live and I think it really helps with the bake. But now that you've done this, you're going to want to cover this and let it sit for 2 hours. So I got distracted, it's been 3 hours, but this is what it's looking like now. And now I need to add 25 grams of salt. This is what I'm going to use. So I guess maybe like 28, give a little extra flavor in there. Now I'm going to put on a glove, wet the glove, and just kind of pinch it into the dough. So I'm literally just pinching it into the dough. And I'll keep doing this until all the salt's combined. So it's combined. This is kind of, so I have like a wet sticky dough. This is what mine's looking like, and that's perfect. Especially for me, again, in my dry climate. But now I'm going to stretch and fold the dough, and I'm gonna just keep doing this for like 2 to 3 minutes, just build up some tension. So I've done that for 2 to 3 minutes. As you can see, it's harder to stretch and fold at this point. It's really just pulling itself together and combining. So now that I have done that, I'm going to cover it again for another 2 hours. Okay, so it's been about 2 hours. Now I'm going to take this out of the bowl. I'm gonna put it over here and get it separated. So if I were making 2 loaves out of this, like this is enough to make 2 loaves. At this point I would cut it in half. I, however, am going to try to make little mini loaves. So I'm going to cut this into 6 and we're going to see where that gets me. So we're going to aim for equal, but we'll see what happens. Let's kind of set one aside, cut this into what I'm hoping ends up being thirds. I could weigh this. If you want to make this like super exact, I would definitely recommend weighing all your little bits and making sure they end up like equal sized. So now I got my 6 and I'm going to individually stretch these all out, fold them, and roll them. So this is it sort of stretched out, and I'm going to fold it, roll it, and sort of pull it in, make it a little loaf. And I'm going to do that to all of these. And once that is done, I'm going to let them rest for about 20 minutes. So my 20 minutes have passed, and I'm going to repeat the stretch and fold, but while it's all stretched out, I'm going to add in my fillings. So you don't want to be as aggressive this time around with the stretching and folding, so it's hand-sized. I'm making small loaves today, little baby loaves. I will not be calling them rolls, even though that's probably what they should be considered. But I like to think of them as little personal-sized loaves. But I'm going to add in some cheese and some jalapenos to this one. I'm probably going to make a couple of these plain. I'm going to do garlic and green onions and feta in some, and then I'm thinking I might do like a pesto parmesan. So we'll see how all of those turn out. Once you get some filling in there, you're gonna fold the sides over, fold the side over, and then I like to add a little more of the filling along here. You could have added some of this filling in the first go round. I like to just wait till the second. I don't want it in there while I'm trying to get like more tension and bubbles going in this loaf. So get that all added. Try to add the last of my jalapenos. And once I get this all rolled up, I'm going to put it in a bowl, and we're going to let it sit in the fridge for 2 hours. And we're going to do that with all of these. You can leave it longer than the 2 hours. I'm doing stuff today, so mine will probably end up being in there longer than 2 hours. Also, my pans are like 20 ounces, and I only have 4 of them, but I made 6 loaves, so some of them are definitely still going to be in the fridge while the other ones are cooking. But just kind of pull it in, make sure everything's in there, and then I'm going to try and kind of pinch this seam together, and we'll leave that side up, get it in our little bowl. Doesn't look very pretty right now, I'm doing it one-handed, and it's mini. But then I'm going to put the shower cap, or you can do a tea towel, or whatever it is that works for you. I'm going to use that to cover this, and then I'll leave it in the fridge for 2 hours. So now we're going to preheat our oven to 450, and I've got my little baby Dutch ovens. They're going to go in the oven to preheat with the oven. Now that it's about time to bake, I've flipped out 4 of my 6 loaves onto these little floured pieces of parchment, and then I put some flour on top of them. It's time to do some cutting. So this is what I'm using. You can use whatever knife works for you. Basically, if you don't do little cuts, steam will find a way to escape, and you can end up with like a really weird, misshapen sort of loaf. You don't want to cut like crazy deep or anything. You just want to score it so that you can let the steam escape. Use whatever it is that works for you to do the cuts, and then we're gonna put these in our preheated cast iron and put them in the oven. So the mini loaves are in their mini Dutch ovens. I'm gonna put them in the main oven, and that right there is a dish of water, which helps to stop the bottoms of the bread from burning while they're cooking. So we're gonna put them in at 450 for about 25 minutes, and then we'll see where they're at and probably cook them another 10 minutes without the lids on. So the loaves were apparently a little big, and some of them tried to escape, but we're gonna put them back in for another 10 minutes. All the loaves are made, and I even cut one open so we can see what the inside looks like, and she's beautiful. So that's sourdough. Let me know if you guys have any questions.